Welcome to the Blue Security Podcast, a weekly podcast for information security defenders, where we bring you discussions on best practices, tools, and implementation for enterprise security. Now, here are your hosts for today's show, Andy Jha and Adam Brewer.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Blue Security Podcast. I'm Andy, your host.
I'm Adam, your co-host.
And we are going to be talking about Microsoft stuff right away, so let's get our disclaimer up front.
Andy and I both work for Microsoft in our field security sales. We record the show outside of work and self-fund the show. The opinions you're about to hear expressed are those of Adam Brewer and Andy Jha, and do not necessarily reflect those of Microsoft Corporation. And with that, on with the show.
All right. So we have some good news here. There was a huge announcement. It actually happened a couple weeks ago. On March 9th, there was a new Frontier Suite that was announced. So I know most people feel like it takes like a PhD in licensing in order to understand what's all included, which is why we're kind of doing this show to kind of tell you about the licensing. We did do an entire show on specific Microsoft licensing, which I will reference in our show notes later on in case you want to go back and listen to that. So we won't dive super deep on the live stuff, but we will touch on some of it. This is being dubbed as EVEN or the Frontier Suite. So if you hear either one, it's the same thing. So it's a new bulk kind of all-in-one licensing with a bunch of stuff that's included, and we'll talk about that. So what it does is it really delivers a bunch of the new AI security and identity all into one single platform. So of course, as with E5 included E3, E7 is going to include all the E5 stuff. And that includes, a ton of stuff, like core productivity, security, identity, compliance. So it's Entra P2, MDE P2, MDO P2. Those are Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office. And then MDI, Defender for Identity, which is the on-premise identity protection. Intune Suite, which we announced a couple weeks back on our show, that starts July 1st as it rolls into all five. The E3 and E5, there's a separation between some of the components, but and we broke that down in a different show. But with E7, of course, it's going to include all of Intune Suite because it includes E5. And then Security Copilot, as we announced, that's going to be part of E5. So that's included in here as well. Purview, Teams, Power BI Pro, Exchange, SharePoint, etc. So there's a bunch that's included from there, right? And the retail price on that is $57 per user per month. And there is a price increase to $60 per user per month starting July 1st. And then M365 Copilot. So this is something that was an add-on previously, and this is going to be included. Adam, you want to speak a little bit about M3 Copilot?
Yeah, Microsoft 365 Copilot has been available now for, over 2 years, and debuted at $30 per user per month and maintains that price to this day. And it's that AI experience that's embedded in the places where you already work. So it's alongside you in Outlook, in Excel, in Word, in PowerPoint, in Microsoft Teams, in OneDrive, so on and so forth, as well as the standalone Microsoft 365 Copilot chat experience, where you can get that more traditional prompt and response experience as well. Multiple agentic models available now, including researcher model and analyst model. Researcher model, by the way, if you haven't tried it, is amazingly good.
It's phenomenal.
Andy and I both, I would not say we are AI skeptics by any means, but, we try to bring our security hat and the healthy skepticism to anything we do. And Researcher Agent, if you have it configured right in your environment, you'll be blown away at the results. It's really, really good. But the overall idea is, wouldn't it be great if you took all of the power and capability of leading edge models from OpenAI and Anthropic, and then you are able to reason over all of your enterprise work data, all the data you have in Microsoft Teams meetings, recordings, and transcripts, all the data you have in your email, in files stored in SharePoint, in files stored in OneDrive, and the ability to synthesize all of that information and use it to deliver results, because that's really the knowledge base for almost any enterprise is really lives in that work IQ layer of Microsoft 365, as it's being called now. And that's really the concept here with M365 Copilot. So it's not just in theory, just a re-implementation of like the latest GPT 5.4 model or whatever, although it has been getting models day and date from OpenAI. They announce new models, they're in M365 Copilot day one. It now also brings multiple Anthropic models to the table, including the new Claude Cowork. There is a Copilot Cowork experience now where you can actually basically kind of broad commands, and then it will go and kick off all the different processes to accomplish whatever you're asking for. So, an agent that effectively issues multiple prompts on your behalf to accomplish a task, and that's now available as well. So, all those different experiences all make up Microsoft 365 Copilot. As mentioned, been on the market now, let's call it 2.5 years, and retails for $30 per user per month.
Yeah, and I would say with all this new technology, I have been more of a Luddite than usual when it comes to technology. Like you said, we're not AI skeptics, but we're slowly, I would say, slowly adopting it for specific uses. And one of the things that I have recently done with Copilot is there's a M365 Copilot agent builder, which is different than Copilot Studio. So if you bring up the Copilot app, you can build your own agent specifically just for you. You can always share it out as well, which is a little bit different than Copilot Studio, which is a little bit more powerful, but has different capabilities that you can like publish an agent, say company wide. But with Copilot Agent Builder, it's like your own little thing that you can do. And for me, working in federal, especially with the multiple different sovereign clouds that I have to work with. So we work with government commercial cloud, which is GCC. We work with GCC High, DoD cloud, and then all the different top secret networks. So we have Azure Secret and Azure Top Secret. And so with all of those different clouds, if you've ever worked in government with Microsoft, you'll understand that not every single thing that's released to regular commercial customers is readily available for government customers. It usually takes some time and additional engineering efforts because literally it's a segmented cloud that's completely different. And so where there's different data centers, there's sovereign data centers. And so we have to literally the question that I guess get asked on a daily basis is this available in Gov?
Mhm.
Right. And so then I have to say, okay, well, which Gov are we talking about? Are we talking about GCC, GCC High, D, Impact Level 6, Intel networks, CIA, DIA, whatever. And so and all of those different spreadsheets and engineering teams and SharePoints are all disparate. They're all like on their own, and each team has their own way of tracking. And so what I did was I uploaded all those different things into an agent. And now I can just ask my agent to reason over the data that I've specifically scoped for this. And it's just a commercial versus GovCloud, agent, parity agent. And it's been great because instead of having to bring up the spreadsheet and look through it and find it, I just ask the agent and it can do that. And I can also give it permissions to access my chat and email. And so let's say someone asks me and then I, look at the agent and I say back, okay, well, the agent says this, but I believe that it might be wrong. Well, the agent then re-reasons and says, hey, I saw that you said that this was wrong. So I believe, then they re-reason over the data again. And so it kind of learns again, it's tightly scoped to the sources that I've given it. But because I've given it access to my chats and emails, it can then re-reason over that as real-time data. So I've been pretty impressed with that. And, obviously there's a lot of different use cases that you can have for a specific agent that you just build for yourself where you can share it. I've shared it among my federal team and they enjoy using it as well.
And that's where the term agent, I think, throws me a lot of the times is I think of something off doing autonomous work. And it's not necessarily that. An agent in part is kind of like that software harness that sits between you and the individual prompts being issued. So like researcher agent, when you issue what looks like a prompt, it's actually going through that harness first, which is then issuing many prompts to do the research plan you've tasked before it. And one of the things those agents do very naturally and organically, which is why their results are so much better, is they check their work. They validate what they said matches up. So they will get a response in one prompt, and then they may issue another prompt to go check their work. So one of the things that I use Researcher Agent for as an example is queries against documentation, because in the Microsoft tenant, it's wired up to Microsoft Learn, the documentation center. And so you can issue queries and you can gate them so that only comes back with links to documentation. Everything it says is grounded in documentation, which is just incredible when you think of the breadth and depth we have to deal with. Being able to get definitive answers of, does the documentation say this is this way or that way, and be able to find it and put it in the context of whatever you're trying to deliver, super duper powerful. So that's one thing that is, again, if you've had experiences in the past where it's hallucinated and made stuff up, first off, if you have a more finite set you're reasoning over, you tend to get better results. But also, when you hear agents, part of what that just means is there's actually an intermediary software layer between you and the prompts being issued, which delivers better, more accurate results because of that.
Mhm.
And so that's beneficial as well.
So as we go through this, M365 Copilot is included in 7. The next thing that's also included, which of course, as identity people, me and Adam are both identity folks. And so Entra Suite, and we've talked about Entra Suite quite a bit on this show before, but we're going to do a quick review of what's all included in Entra Suite. This is included in this E7. And so Entra Suite, the suite within the suite here, includes Entra Private Access, which is that ZTNA, that Zero Trust Network Access. So it's like per app, whatever you want to call it, per app VPN, micro VPN tunnels, however you want to do it. But it uses the app proxy that we've had for a long time, over a decade, and build on top of that. Instead of just using 443 and port 80 for web apps, it can do any port, any protocol over to your on-premise applications. And it replaces that legacy VPN where you're providing an entire tunnel, right? Whether it's a split tunnel or a full tunnel, like you're still providing a tunnel to your network. And so this provides that zero trust access where you have to authenticate to the client with MFA, and then you have to have access to the application, and then it stitches that together just to have access to that specific app. Then it also includes Microsoft Entra Internet Access, which gives you cloud delivered web content filtering and security controls. It's essentially a proxy. So traffic is then routed through Microsoft's global network, and that reduces like an adversary in the middle attack. And then it can also integrate with conditional access. So you can say in a conditional access proxy must be on, the GSA global secure access or the Microsoft Entra internet access in order to access this particular application or whatever it is. It does include Microsoft Entra ID protection. However, if you're already on E5, then that's going to be included in Entra P2. So correct me if I'm wrong, the price that we have listed here in the notes, Adam, that is like the discounted price, right? That includes the Entra
No.
P2.
So the $12 per user per month would be for someone on E3 or
Okay.
Entra ID P1. If you're on P2, because there's the ID protection and some of the governance capabilities built in, that price drops to $9 per user per month.
$9.
So someone
Okay.
coming from an E5 would pay $9.
Yep. So essentially, you're getting an additional $9 value here because it includes E5. And so the Entra ID protection is included in Entra P2, and then Entra ID governance is included in this. Some of those features are included in Entra P2, but then there's also an add-on suite which gives you that automated identity lifecycle management for those joiners, movers, and leavers. You have workflows that can provision new employees or if you're moving or leaving. And then you can also support delegations to business groups. And so entitlement management and access reviews as part of that is included in Entra P2. And then you have this other stuff that's included in Entra ID governance that helps you automate when someone joins your organization, if they move to a different internal organization, or if they leave, what groups they should be added to, what groups they should be removed to, what resources they have, so on and so forth. And then it includes a face check with verified ID. So verified ID is a decentralized identity tool that uses the Microsoft Authenticator app and then the device camera for live verification on government issued IDs. So that if you have a specific highly sensitive or high assurance access scenario, that you can check someone's face before they get onboarded and have access. The face check includes like a number of face checks per user or per month or something like
I
that.
believe it's 5, sounds
Five,
right. But
five
don't
per
quote me
user.
on that. But you're right. It's a number in that ballpark.
Yeah. And then there's, if you have like a ton, there's like an additional charge you buy in bulk for a bunch of other ones. But this includes a preset amount of face checks per user, which is in a pool that you can use for all of your users. So, and as we said, $9 per user per month would be the added value. And then Agent 365. So this is something that's new. It is coming to general availability May 1st this year. Agent 365 is, think of it like the admin console for all of your AI agents. And so it delivers that centralized governance, visibility, and control for AI agents so that you can deploy and scale agents safely across your organization. So as you're running more automated AI processes, agents that can like book meetings or process requests, manage communications, handle multi-step workflows, your IT teams and your security teams need to have a way to be able to see how those are behaving and make sure that they're behaving within the rules. And then you might need to manage their permissions. So that's what Agent 365 is a unified control plane that gives you that observability, the identity controls, and the governance that you need to run those AI agents at scale. And the pricing for that is $15 per user per month if you were to buy it separately.
Mhm.
So,
And by the way, that's priced per human user. So any human that is going to interact with AI agents in any capacity would need to be licensed to be in compliance with this, but you don't license per agent. Because the thought process is that's really not scalable. And again, it discourages the proliferation of agents, which is not something we want to do. We want to enable users to use as many agents as are needed to be most effective and productive with their work. So, for example, if Andy is working with some company created agent and you want visibility into that in A365, then Andy needs to be licensed.
so we said a lot there and we also gave a lot of pricing. Do you think this is a good deal, Adam, based on everything that we kind of talked about here? And who do you think this would be for? What's your target audience for this 7 bundle?
Is it a good deal? So this is certainly discounted versus buying all of these products a la carte. I think you were trying to do the math here. So E5 goes to $60 effective July 1. So let's just use that price. And E7, by the way, is not changing in price. It starts May 1st, but after July 1st, the price does not go up. So start just $60 for E5 plus 30 for Copilot. You're at 90. Then from there, your additional value is Agent 365 and Entra Suite. Well, A365 is 15, Entra Suite is 9. So that's another $24 of value. You're at 114 for effectively a $99 license. So from a do you save versus buying things a la carte? Absolutely, yes, you do. Who is this targeted for? Well, the name kind of is a giveaway, but I want to add some context to that. So Microsoft's Microsoft CEO of its commercial business, Judson Althoff. If you've seen him speak, he spoke most recently publicly at Microsoft Ignite in November, and he delivers this vision of a frontier firm. And the idea is a frontier firm is a firm that wants to be AI native, like AI first kind of firm, which is a direction I think a lot of firms will go. We'll see some more on the bleeding edge, some more on the trailing edge. But the vision is Microsoft is the company to help you achieve frontier firm status. So that's where the name Frontier Suite comes from. It is the suite that enables you to become a frontier firm. It gives you the work grounded artificial intelligence experience for all of your users. It gives you the ability to manage all of their agents at scale, as well as deliver next generation zero trust network architecture, identity governance, and all the tools you need to manage all those identities and users and access models at scale as well. Plus everything already included in the Microsoft security stack and Microsoft collaboration productivity stacks down the line. So it's targeted at that firm that wants to get there and needs it all in one stop shop from Microsoft. So is this going to be for everyone? Well, no, not initially, although I think our vision is it will get there. Just like I just celebrated my 9-year anniversary at Microsoft. And when I first started, we were just starting kind of that I've sales motion where we were starting to talk about E5 and try to move customers into E5. Today, overwhelmingly, most enterprise customers are on E5 today. I'd say, in my experience, it's around 3/4, give or take some, depending on what kind of business you're in. But just
I was going to say 80%.
yeah, right around there. That feels right. I mean, and Annie and I don't have large visibility into this, and I haven't pulled any metrics on this. This is a feel. Like, what does it feel like from my perspective? These things do take time, right? As you're trying to move folks into them, and some are early adopters, and some are late adopters, and some are never adopters. So who looks at this really? So if you are an E5 customer and you already have or are considering having M365 Copilot wall to wall, you can probably get an E7 deal that makes a lot of sense for you, as opposed to buying those two things by themselves. Especially if you're starting to think about Agent 365 or Entra Suite as well, the numbers can make a lot of sense very quickly. And like all things, a lot of this pricing is negotiable, right? We're providing list pricing. So that's who I'd think about it. If you are not E5 today, if you're not doing Copilot wall to wall, you're not ready for E7 yet. If you're thinking about those things, if you're thinking about E5 wall to wall, if you're thinking about Copilot wall to wall, if you're looking at Agent 365, all of a sudden this starts to make a lot of sense. So it's one of those things that I think you're going to hear more about, of course, as well. And keep in mind, Agent 365 isn't even generally available here for another, as we record this, Andy, 38 days? So that's a brand new piece of technology that's included in this as well. The rest of it is tried and true. E5's been around forever. Entra Suite's now been around for several years. So A365 is really the newest component. M365 Copilot is multiple years in now. So A365 is the newest piece here. So yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about, fun to help customers on this next leg of the journey. I think it makes a lot of sense to do this as an integrated platform as opposed to having disparate solutions from a whole bunch of different providers. But this is how you do it. So that's E7, the Frontier Suite from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said there, Adam. It's really for those folks, I think, and we've both worked with customers who are very deployed on their E5, licensing. That they have, a lot of the tools already done. They're all in, and then they've been kind of pushing that AI frontier. So it's just for those folks that are really committed to that AI at scale, and you're going to get a good discount. And like you said, Adam, all the pricing that we gave is all retail price, and there's always room for negotiation. I'm not privy into like how much it is, but generally there's stuff out there, like when you do your negotiations, you'll be able to get a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, I'm not giving anything away to say we consider all the circumstances around other solutions you may have may have in place today, a migration time, adoption time to take out competitive solutions, like all that is considered. So I think most folks at Microsoft are committed to a fair deal for everyone. So certainly if this is something that sounds like it makes sense, engage your Microsoft team and have those conversations. Certainly that's the best way to move forward if there's interest here.
Oh, and one final note. We did mention that price increase, which is public information for E5 from $57 to $60 per user per month. Most importantly, whatever you have in your EA contract, the deal that you signed, it's not going to increase anything from there. So it's really like if you have a renewal coming up, that they would change that pricing.
Correct. Yes. If you have it under contractual agreement, that contract will be honored and no changes will occur. It will only occur the time you sign a new agreement, is when you would be impacted by that. So especially for customers who are signing agreements right now, this time of year, we do a lot of agreements on April 1st as an example. they won't really be impacted by the price change for almost 3 years. They wouldn't see it for about 33 more months, or 36 months, I guess. It would be 3 years before they'd see it again. So, you know,
Yeah. So right now is actually not a bad time to do renewals, huh?
right, exactly. Or I mean, if Evan sounds interesting to you, same thing as well.
All right. Well, that's our show for this week. Hopefully you learned all about the new E7 suite and all what's included. All our contact information will be in the show notes, as well as the links to the topics that we talked about. I'll link our previous show on Intune Suite as well as Entra Suite. So if you're going back, you can take a look at that. Thanks for listening and watching, as always, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to the Blue Security Podcast. Please check out the show notes, catch up on episodes you may have missed, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Find Andy on Twitter @AJaw0 and Adam @AJBrewer. See you at our next episode.